Marking the one-year anniversary of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, I'm Kristi Leigh, and I'll have what President Biden promised President Zelensky during his surprise visit in today's Daily Brief. Another Fauci falsehood, a new Lancet study contradicts an early COVID claim, plus another study reveals how people who are weak to woke think compared to those who champion freedom of speech. And shocker, left-wing megadonor George Soros hates the light. Learn why he is advocating to block the sun. Starting today with President Joe Biden's surprise visit to Ukraine. Sirens blare as Biden walks with Zelensky, even though there were no reports of Russian missiles or airstrikes. He met with Ukraine's president just ahead of the one-year anniversary of Russia's invasion of the country. In a statement released, he says when Putin launched his invasion nearly 1 year ago, he thought Ukraine was weak and the West was divided. He thought he could outlast U.S., but he was dead wrong. Biden is pledging another $500 million in military aid, now including more artillery ammunition. He also highlighted another round of sanctions to be announced later this week. The U.S. has already committed at least $25 billion in security assistance. Some Republicans in Congress have argued there needs to be an audit of the aid the U.S. is providing, while some conservatives are calling for support to end altogether, according to The Hill. Fox News reports Biden's visit comes just before Russia is expected to ramp up its offensive once again in its acknowledgement of the one-year anniversary of the conflict. Meanwhile, East Palestine, Ohio, has had to fight for federal support after a train derailment released hazardous chemicals into the air and water. Biden's visit to another continent, rather than supporting his own people in the midst of a disaster, is drawing harsh criticism online. Rep. Lauren Boebert tweets, former President Trump is heading to East Palestine next week. Biden has announced no such plans. Says everything. Well, Matt Clark of Patriot One News says 10% for the big guy, Ukraine first, America last. Looks like they were wrong. That's the comment from Dr. Richard Bartlett in response to a new Lancet study which seems to contradict Dr. Fauci's earlier takes on the pandemic. New research published in the Lancet confirms that natural immunity acquired from a coronavirus infection can provide strong and long-lasting protection against severe illness and death. But if you said that earlier, Fauci's fact-checkers would swarm. In May of 2021, Dr. Fauci said it was COVID-19 vaccines that work much better than natural immunity. The Lancet's new study finds that for all variants, infection-acquired immunity reduced the risk of hospitalization and death from a COVID reinfection by nearly 90%. For at least 10 months. The authors emphasize that natural immunity could be even higher than pharmaceutical methods. The study, signifying the largest meta-analysis to date on immunity following infection, analyzed data from 65 studies in 19 countries. Another new study finds that people with higher cognitive ability are less likely to be concerned about political correctness and more likely to support free speech, according to Summit News. 300 American adults were surveyed using the platform Mechanical Turk to measure participants' cognitive ability. The test is meant to correlate closely with participants' IQ. Researchers then asked participants to give their answer to statements such as, "Every individual has the unalienable right to express their thoughts freely," or "I get mad when I hear someone use politically incorrect language." The results show that there was a moderate positive correlation between cognitive ability and support for freedom of speech, and a moderate negative correlation between cognitive ability and concern for political correctness. Article author Paul Joseph Watson says, a harsher but somewhat accurate summary would be to say that people who embrace woke political dogmas are more stupid and gullible. Let's block the sun. That's the bright idea, or rather dark idea, coming from left-wing megadonor George Soros.
Do you believe in God? No.
He spoke in support of using an experimental weather control technology to alleviate global warming during a speech last week in Germany, according to Just the News. Soros has given millions of dollars to climate change groups through his nonprofit Open Society Foundations. He's now advocating for a theoretical project to repair the climate system by creating white clouds that reflect sunlight away from certain warming areas with the goal of preventing ice sheets in Greenland from melting. Playing God by manipulating the weather? What could go wrong? Some scientists have reportedly pushed back against the plan due to the uncertainty of its potential effects on the planet. In an open letter written to governments last year, dozens of scientists wrote that the risks of solar geoengineering are poorly understood and can never be fully known. So here's today's takeaways. President Biden travels all the way to Ukraine to promise even more taxpayer support rather than visit the site of Ohio's ecological disaster. A new Lancet study, the largest done on natural immunity, is now contradicting former Fauci falsehoods. Another study suggests the more you care about political correctness, the lower your IQ may be. And Soros wants to play God by manipulating the weather, which is fine because he's already said he doesn't believe in our creator. To learn more, be sure to go to AmericanFaith.com and subscribe to our daily newsletter. For American Faith, I'm Kristi Leigh.